Welcome back. So in the last lecture, I said it depends how many carbons are attached to the carbon that you're studying. If you are dealing with one carbon, you call it primary. If you have two carbons attached to it, you call it secondary. And if you have three carbons attached to it, three carbons attached to the yellow one, then you call it tertiary. And if you have four carbons attached to the yellow one, then we call it the quaternary. Okay, now we're going to go after alkane versus alkyl. What's the difference between them? So alkane, whenever you say alkane, you will be dealing with a saturated compound. That means all atoms that you pick, they are acted. And this is the formula for it. We will have CnH2n plus 2. And this 2 will be applied for hydrogen. And one example for it, I go C4H, will be 2 multiplied 4 plus 2. So we will have C4H10. Okay, we have a carbon that attached to 4 carbons. Okay, and each carbon is going to have at least here like 2 hydrogens, and the terminal one, they will have 3 hydrogens. So these 2 carbons, we call them terminal carbons. Terminal carbons, they will have CH3, technically formula. Any carbon like that is the terminal, it will have 3 hydrogens attached to it. Okay, now we call it butane. Okay, why butane? Butane is telling us that we are dealing with 4 carbons and the compound is saturated. How do I know it? I know it through An. And what's the meaning of E? That I'm dealing with hydrocarbon. Okay, and how about the alkyl? What's the alkyl? Alkyl, if you subtract 1 hydrogen from alkane, you will get alkyl. So right now, okay, I have 10 hydrogen. If I subtract 1 hydrogen from them, and this is the formula that I will get. Technically, I will get carbon 4 times, and then hydrogen. I had 10, so I'm going to say 10 minus 1, and the formula will be C4H9. That means one of the carbon is not going to be acted. So let's go after one of this carbon. It doesn't matter which one you want to pick for now. Okay, I can pick one of this hydrogen. Okay, I can pick one from the terminal, or I can pick from those 2. Okay, so I have 2 different positions. One, let's highlight it. One is going to be here, one of this hydrogen. That's one option. And the second option is going to be one of that hydrogen atoms. Okay, so we have 2 different hydrogen atoms. Okay, anyone that you pick, it doesn't matter which one you pick, you will get such a geometry. Okay, so we're going to take 1 hydrogen from it. If I take 1 hydrogen, this hydrogen will be gone. Okay, that hydrogen is gone. Now I'm going to have just 1 single electron there. Okay, clearly that carbon is not acted. That carbon, in order to be acted, it will be attached to something else, and we're going to call it X. This piece, okay, we call it alkyl. Okay, I'm going to write YL by different color. Alkyl. That means you have an alkane that attached to something. Okay, you have an alkane, you have a chain, something that attached to something, attached to X. Okay, so from now, anytime you add YL to end of the name. Okay, so let's say we have a name, and then you add YL to it. YL. That means this piece, whatever it is attached to something. Okay, attached to something. Okay, so the way we get alkyl, we subtract, we take 1 hydrogen from the system, and that's going to leave us with a carbon that is not saturated. That carbon, it will be attached to something else. Again, I can take hydrogen, for example, this hydrogen. I can take that hydrogen, and if I do it, then that carbon is not going to be saturated. Okay, so that carbon, it will go after substituent and whatever. Oh, sorry, it's going to go after something, and it will be attached to X. And this piece, the one I'm going to highlight, entire of this, I'm going to call it alkyl. So alkyl is missing 1 hydrogen and is attached to something. Okay. Again, I'm trying to move to how to name a chemical compound. Okay. So in front of you, you can see that it says that we have a propane. Okay. And the question is here, like, how do you name a chemical compound? Is there any formula? Is there any way to, learn and use that formula to name chemical compound, like I'm talking about organic compound? And in this case, I'm going to say, okay, molecule that is written in front of it says is a propane. The first part of the molecule, okay, I'm going to call the first part, I'm going to call it here. This one, okay, we will call it prefix. Prefix is going to show you number of carbon atoms that you are dealing with. So this one, it will give you number of carbon atoms inside the parent chain. Okay. Next, what's the meaning of, okay, AN? So let's highlight the first part. So we had this, we called it prefix. Next one, we're going to go after AN, okay, and I'm going to call this, okay, I will call it infix. And infix is going to tell you that, because it says AN, in this case it's AN, it's telling you that you have carbon attached to another carbon through a single bond. So anytime you end the name with AN, that means you have a saturated compound, and is like in the bond between carbon and carbon, it will be a single bond. Now the last letter, it says E. Okay, that's going to be your the suffix. And this one is telling me that I'm dealing with a hydrocarbon. Okay, so this one is telling me that I'm dealing with a hydrocarbon. Okay, and so I have hydrogen, okay, attached to carbon, and my compound is made of hydrogen and carbon, or hydrocarbon. Okay. Let's write some example about it. The first one, it has two carbon, 1, 2 carbon, and I see a single bond between them. Okay, so I want to say I have 2 carbon. I go with ETH. That one represents 2 carbons. That one represents 2 carbons. Next, I see a single bond between carbon and carbon. Okay, because it's a single bond, I'm going to say AN. Okay, AN represents a single bond. Single carbon bond. And how about like the last part? Last part, just simply I'm going to add E to it. So this one, it will be ethane. Okay, the correct name for it will be ethane, and I'm going to move this one a bit closer. So it will be ethane. Okay, how about the rest? Okay, rest. Okay, carbons are not saturated. So clearly we have a double bond. Okay, now that I have a double bond, I'm going to say that compound is not saturated. The third one, I need to have 2 double bonds. Oh, sorry, two pi bonds. 2 pi bond, my bad. 2 pi bonds. Okay, how do I name them? Again, I'm dealing with 2 carbons. So I go ETH represent 2 carbons. Okay, now if you have 1 pi bond, and instead of saying AN, this time you will say EN. EN. So EN is talking about double bond. Okay, and then you will end it with E. Okay, so this one, it will be technically ethene. The first one is ethene. And now that I have like a triple bond, I'm going to say here, I'm going to write it with Y, N, and then I add E at the end. And this one, it will be ethyne. Okay, so ethane, and ethyne. Okay, and YN represent triple bond between carbons. Okay, so there is a systematic way to name chemical compounds, and for now, the first part of the name or the prefix is talking about number of carbon atoms. Next part, the infix, it will tell you whether you have a single, double, or triple bond, and the last letter technique, or the last part, not letter, because sometimes it can be more than one letter. Last part of the name, it will tell you what you are dealing with. Is it going to be like a saturated compound? Okay, forgive me. Are you dealing with a hydrocarbon, or are you dealing with, for example, alcohol or sulfur or whatever? And you will learn it later. Okay, So we said we are dealing with alkane, and if we take a hydrogen atom from them, we will get alkyl. Okay, let's give it a try. So the first one, I have CH4. Okay, and I'm going to subtract one hydrogen from it. If I subtract one hydrogen from it, that's going to give me alkyl. Okay, I'm going to write it here with red. Sorry, blue. Alkyl. Okay, so if I subtract one hydrogen from it, I will get CH3. Okay, CH3, and this one it will be methyl. Okay, so I had methane. Okay, I had methane. Let me write the name here. Methane. Okay, now this one is going to turn to methyl, and Me. It will be the symbol for it. And I can practice this one for the rest of them. So how about C2H6 minus one hydrogen? Okay, this is gonna give us C2H5. Okay, and what's the name for the original compound? We call it ethane. Okay, and here, because we are missing one hydrogen, it will be ethyl. Okay, ethyl, and the symbol for it Et. Okay, next I go C3H. It will be 8 minus one hydrogen. It will give me C3H6. Oh, sorry, H7. Okay, original compound, we call it propane. Okay, propane. The new one, it will be propyl. Okay, so it will be propyl. Okay, and for now, you can say this is the the symbol for it. I want you to put the star here, and then next lecture I'm going to tell you why do I put the star. Why did I put the star there? Because technically we can have more than one structure for it. Okay, and you can repeat this one for 4, 5, or 6 carbons. So let's go after it. If we have C5, H, it will be 12, and then if you go with C, I forgot to write the 4 actually. C4, H, it will be 10. And C5H, it will be 12, and C6H, it will be 14. Okay, the first compound, the name for it is butane. This one will be pentane. Okay, so we have 5. The first one we had 4, and here it will be hexane. Okay, if I subtract one hydrogen from each, okay, what do I get? I get this. I get C4H9. This one will give me C5H11, and this one will be C6H13. Okay, what's the name for those? They are alkyl. It will be butyl. Okay, you want to say is attached to something, and this is going to be pentyl. Pentyl, and last one, hexyl. Okay, hexyl. And how about the symbol? Okay, for butyl, we go with Bu. Okay, Bu, that's going to be the symbol for it. And for pentyl, we go with Pe. And for hexyl, the symbol, it will be hex. Okay, those are the symbols. Okay, I'm going to stop the lecture here. And then next lecture, we're going to start technically the naming. Okay, thank you very much. And I will see you very soon.